Good evening, everyone. It's October 10th. We're here for a work session of the City Council. Just by way of a note, we did cancel the public hearing and the special meeting that were scheduled for this evening. In case you were tuning in for that. So we're instead going to move on to our work session for the evening and start with public comment on non-agenda items. So if there's any member of the public who wishes to speak to the council on any item not on the agenda, go ahead and raise your hand on Zoom or come forward in the room. Please, City Clerk, let Mr. Glass in. Good evening, Brett. When you're in, go ahead. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Well, as you know, at your last meeting, you passed Original Ordinance 2065, which it was acknowledged at the meeting contained requirements that many downtown businesses could not fulfill. It was simply impossible for it to fulfill them. And staff at the time said that they could draft language to fix that problem. Well, I just wanted to follow up since I took a look at your draft agenda for the 17th. There was nothing on there about addressing that. So I'd like to urge you to please instruct staff to do that and include it, if not at that meeting, then at a very soon, at a future meeting very soon, because it's we don't want to have provisions in our ordinance with requirements that are impossible for people and especially businesses that we want to promote to fulfill. So please, I'd just like to ask that you do that so that we don't wind up with a situation where businesses simply aren't able to continue because there are requirements in the statute that they can never meet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. The reminder is appreciated. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak to the council on any item that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment period. We'll move then on to the work session about the ERP project update. And Director Wade, I think it's to you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Councilors. Tonight's work session is an ERP project update. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Assistant City Manager. The first section of our work session this evening is a presentation from Mike Monroe, who is the CEO and founder of Coa Hills Consulting. The city's partnership with Coa Hills Consulting goes back several years, and I think many staff will share my sentiment that without them, this project would have been much more difficult. It's a high-value partnership, and Mike will present to you tonight Coa's role in the project and just give you an update on project progress. After Mike's presentation, you have the opportunity to ask questions. Various members of the project teams for the finance and intergov phase implementation will also join you at the podium to just share some thoughts on project progress. And so my role tonight is really as coordinator only. There's a lot of people contributing to this project, and I'll be happy to kick it over to Mike Monroe at this time.
Thank you, Director Wade. Mr. Monroe, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. As I was introduced as, yes, step up. Okay, you want me to step up?
Yeah, you would, okay. So we can hear you on Zoom.
You bet.
Or a microphone back there. If you'd prefer to sit, Mr. Monroe, we can just bring you a microphone as well.
That's okay. I'll stand.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes. Well, good evening. We started business process reengineering some in 2019. When I came on site the first time and looked at the technology that the city had, I knew we were in for a long haul. There was a lot of processes that needed improvement. There were a lot of processes that were manual. There were a lot of redundant processes. It was very hard to get data out of the system. As this slide indicates, we went from the Y2K edition of software, and that was what technology looked like in the year 2000, the phones and the hard drives and, the large manuals for implementation. And we looked at that as an opportunity, and the city looked at it as an opportunity to modernize the processes within the city. We did extensive business process reengineering, which is as-is mapping, then to-be mapping, and then requirements and recommendations to leverage technologies that are available in modern ERP, enterprise resource planning. I have some 25 years experience in a staff of about 20 people with about that much experience on average. We had several people come in. We did business process reengineering and financials, which is my area. My business partner worked on HR payroll, or HCM as it's called now. We also worked on intergov, or enterprise permitting and licensing, and we worked on enterprise asset management as well. So a whole swath of different areas within the city. The team recognized right away, your team and ours, that there were a lot of opportunities, but there was a long haul ahead of us. What we did was we put together an RFP to go out for vendors to come and reply to us and solicit their answers, answer our functional requirements. And we scored those functional requirements along with some demonstrations of software, and then Tyler Technologies was chosen by the city to move forward. The main reason that Tyler was chosen was they scored higher on the overall functionality list. They had better overall references, and they had the broad swath of software. No other vendor that we met with in our budget area had that broad swath. They had some, and they would offer, we'll integrate other things. So we would have had to have a hodgepodge of different software systems to do it. So there was some trade-off there, but we ultimately, the city ultimately decided to go with Tyler. Our goal was to modernize, and I'll go to the next slide here. The project mission was an integrated single solution software system. This provides the opportunity for a change and creation of a stronger city team. The whole and smart vision for the future is the idea behind it. So we wanted to improve efficiency through business process improvement and the removal of knowledge silos. We want transparency everywhere. We want the information to be available to anybody that needs the information, including the public. Expand services to the staff and citizens. The benefits were better tools for decision-making and cooperation and opportunities for professional growth. So you might have seen this slide before. The whole and smart city is one that is well-managed, responsive, and innovative. The implementation of the ERP, or Tyler ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning system, is the foundation that supports the realization of those goals. The support the support meeting of these goals, Coa Hills has provided partnership in the key areas of project management, change management, training, and staff augmentation. And I'll delve into each of those just a little bit as we go through this presentation. We're looking for, if we kind of look at the circle here, we have better decision-making, enhanced data analytics, better communication, increased innovation, improved service delivery, elevated responsiveness, better informed decisions, increased transparency, greater efficiency, and improved citizen access. So project management included resource allocation and management. When we came in, we set up the project plan. We work as the city's project manager. Tyler has their project manager, but we watch out for the city's interests to make sure that all of the resources are in the right place at the right time, that we stay on track and on budget, that we are communicating with the stakeholders, we're managing project risk, we are managing the scope of the project, both making sure it doesn't expand too far or contract. Sometimes during projects, one of the things that'll happen is people will say, oh, well, that's too hard. Let's pass on that for right now. We want to make sure that we manage to the scope that we set out from the beginning, and that's very important. Also, quality assurance and testing oversight. Any questions so far?
Council members, do you have any questions at this point?
I'm gonna grab my water.
Yeah, please take your time. Go ahead and take a minute, and back to you whenever you're ready.
Sure.
Councilor Gabriel has a question. Go ahead.
Can you describe what the removal of knowledge silos are?
Yeah. Oftentimes, what happens in organizations is there are people, individuals, that know information, but it's not known to the rest of the organization. And so it's a silo of knowledge in that one area. For instance, we could have somebody that was working in finance, and they knew all about how to onboard an employee, but nobody else knew how to do it for the organization. That would be a knowledge silo. That would be an example. And oftentimes when processes are manual, they tend to have that aspect to them. Does that make sense? Yeah. An online spreadsheet is an example. Oftentimes I go into an organization and say, everybody open up your laptops and show me the spreadsheets you use to run the organization. They laugh, and then they show me, and I see a whole bunch of little knowledge silos sitting out there that would be really useful to pull together. So we also engaged in change management. Now, we have a certified change manager on the project and a project manager in Holly. You've probably all met Holly sitting, and she has brought together the change team, and we put together the Change Champion Initiative, the communication and vision and strategy of the project, training and support, stakeholder analysis, and monitoring of progress. When I first started implementing software in the 1990s, we came on site as consultants and we implemented, and basically we started by training. We just came on site, we started training people. We loaded the software up and training happened. Then we realized that projects were rough because we didn't have any project management. We needed to have somebody understanding the why of why we were here and to manage that. And then we realized that we needed to have change management as well, because the people side is as important as the work side of a project. And so change management is a cornerstone of how we implement now to make sure that our projects are smoother than all projects have been in the past. By adding that change management aspect to it, we engage with the users in a way that is designed to manage resistance. Everybody has some level of resistance to change, even if they're anxious or eager to change. They all have some level, and we have to have a plan to address that. We can't have one individual or two individuals in the organization hold up the whole organization because of their anxiety about a change. Typically, that anxiety is based in fear. And we address that with a good change champion initiative by bringing people together who rally for the city and say, this change is important for us, we need to make this change. And then we facilitate that change management process through the project. I'll show you some ways we've done that later on with a tool called Skillo. And Skillo is a learning management system that we're using for the project, and I'll show that in a little bit here. So as far as Coahill's involvement, our staff has helped augment some of the city staff by attending training, by assisting with homework and deliverables, by creating assets for training and e-learning, such as videos on how to do something, a manual, a flip book for how to get through a process, answering questions, and providing our references, our 20-some years of experience. Projects, as a project manager, there's a saying called, all projects go through a form, storm, norm, perform. and every one of them goes through little different valleys, peaks and valleys. Oftentimes, when you're on a hike up a mountain and you've never been to the top, but you're with somebody that has, it's really nice to have somebody that's been to the top a few times to let you know you're almost there, or no, you're not, and you need to pick it up a little bit. So that's kind of what we serve as, is that guide to get us to the top of that mountain and to the end of the project. Training, and I'm going to show, we're going to go to another slide here, not a slide, but a screen that we're using. This tool is called Skillo. Now, Skillo is used by the city for engagement training, and I'm going to grab my mouse here. Thank you. Oh, I think I clicked off it. Yeah. Get it back for me. Thank you. Okay. So if you'll see here, we have tiles here with different types of training areas. We can instruct on how to use a hub. A hub is a dashboard for an employee. We can also have a view where an instructor sets up new content, and the content can include various things. And I'll show you one example. We can have slide decks in here. We record the sessions for the training sessions so somebody can go back and watch them later. And I think one of the most important things is the ability to have a video of how to do a process so people can learn at their own pace. When I implemented in 2001 in Texas, I had 220 end users I had to train 10 at a time. And at that time, I put together videos and overlaid soundtracks, and it was very difficult to do, but it was very valuable. And I found out at that time that video was a really good way to go for training, because a lot of people are intimidated by sitting in a classroom with their peers. They would rather learn at their own pace and be able to see examples. So we have created a series of videos for every aspect of the project. That could be from entering a purchase request, to a journal entry, to requesting a budget change, to anything else that might be.
Hello and welcome. This video tutorial will provide an overview of accounts payable invoice entry and batch processing. Click on Munis, Financials, Accounts Payable, Invoice Processing, Invoice Entry. Here we will enter in our...
And I can go through the whole video, but you're welcome to, we'll give you a login and you can watch all the videos if you want. We have, not only do we have videos though, for some people that have watched the videos, we'll then have a quick reference guide where it just kind of walks them through it. I don't want to watch the video again, but I just want to see the reference guide. The tools that we have are so much better than 2001. We can make a video and create this quick reference guide right out of that. We can also do checking in to make sure that they're understanding the content. We can have interactive quizzes at the end where it says, do you understand the content? And if it doesn't, then they can go back and review some more of the content. So we've used this, and this is not only saving time in the project, but it'll save time in onboarding new employees. In my time as a project manager, I coined a phrase, over-the-shoulder training plan. A lot of organizations have, when somebody moves on or moves into a new position, the old employee maybe spends a little bit of time teaching the new employee information if they're there, and if they're not, somebody else teaches them, and it's fairly quick. So what we've done is documented a lot of these things so a new employee could onboard, know how to do a purchase order the first day, know how to do an accounts payable the first day, know how to navigate the system. Does that make sense? So we're really big on enterprise learning management, and as a big aspect of a cornerstone of the project, if you will. Further, we have full-on reference guides. If somebody wants to read a manual, they can. And we have, as I say, we have many different areas where we are adding content, and we'll continue to add content as we further progress on the project. Okay, we'll go back to the slides. Oh, question before I move on?
Please, Counselor.
These look like they're specific to Laramie's database.
They are. So we think that vendors do their best to provide documentation, but it is oftentimes not relevant to how you are using the software. It doesn't reference your account string. In fact, earlier, there was one where Holly has an account lookup where somebody can go in and look up a specific account number, and it is your organization chart. We have a video on how your organization chart was created as well, and why it was created the way it was. So it also gives a historical record of how we got to this point, which oftentimes doesn't happen. I go to clients a lot of the time and I ask them why you do this, and they say, because we always have. And what we wanted to do is leave a legacy where we could see why, some breadcrumbs of how we got to this point. And so this is a good way to do that. Thank you. So what does training do for us? It helps us to perform. We create the training plan. We prepare assets to assist. That's probably the biggest lift in the training plan. The training plan includes a lot of planning out what videos we're going to create, what content we're going to create, and put it on Skello. How do we also want to gather feedback from our stakeholders along the way and update the project plan accordingly. It's always important to do check-in with stakeholders. I, as the CEO of Coe Hills and one of the people who started the project, like to check in from time to time to make sure that if anything's off course on our end or on the city's end, that we make corrections as quickly as we can. And then we monitor user adoption, e-learning, attendance, making sure that that the information is sticking. So sometimes people ask, what's the ROI on having a company like ours help out? And I kind of break it down into 4 areas. Financial returns, there's some definite financial returns. There's operational benefits, capacity building, and a few intangible returns as well. So what are the financial returns? Cost savings, KHC, or Coe Hills Consulting's project management, help avoid budget overruns and delays. We also, it's a person on your staff that doesn't have to do that job. So we're taking that role and that responsibility. We also have done it many times. We have managed projects with many vendors, including Tyler in the past. We have a relationship with them. We can escalate up within Tyler if need be. We can escalate up within the vendor. Resource optimization, our staff augmentation and training efforts will help utilize city personnel more efficiently, avoiding the need for external hires. Oftentimes, projects stall out because they don't backfill positions because people have their day job, and it's really hard to implement software and do your day job. And even with our help, the staff here, and I've got to mention this, this is one of the best projects I've ever been associated with as far as staff quality. People are engaged, people are positive. I'm going to write a book when I get older, when I retire, called Uncrossing Arms, because I sit in the room with people who are going like this, I'm never going to do this. Well, I have not had that problem here at all. From the minute we got into the BP business process reengineering sessions, people have been engaged, willing to jump in, work extra hours, work hard. I have no lacking of involvement by folks here. In fact, one of the complaints is sometimes my staff takes too much in certain areas, and we're working on that. We also help reduce errors, I believe, because we've been here before. We've seen these projects. We help to reduce the rate of the errors and the effect those errors have on the operation of the organization. Double checking. Operational benefits. Efficiency gains. Our change management and project management combined leads to streamlining operation, reducing the time to complete tasks. Now, one of the things I want to bring up is that change management in organizations that we have adopted for this project is something that could be a legacy for the city. The city now can move to its next project and use that same structure that they've learned in this project of change management without our help, because they have embraced it and know it and could use it for other projects. We also have created some standardization for training, project management, and change management standardized practices across different departments. One of the difficult parts, sometimes when I'm doing a business process reengineering, I'll ask a question. I'll say, okay, how do you do accounts receivable? And I know the answer. Every department does it a little differently. I call it the wild, wild west. Everybody does it just a little differently. It's hard to tell internally how everybody's billing. So what we can do is centralize that process or standardize that process. Let those departments still have the autonomy to do their billing, but in a standardized way that everybody knows, so we could step in and see what's going on. The other thing, it creates transparency. How much money are we bringing in? We got a grant for $500,000. It's nice to see where that grant's going to hit in X amount of months or years down the road, and not just have it be a surprise, although it's a nice surprise when we get the money, but it is nice to be able to plan. It also just helps to make interdepartmental collaboration easier and more efficient. So I think we help with capacity building by skill development. Our subject matter experts and instructional designers, we participate in the training programs. We're there to enhance the skills of the city staff for long-term, leading to long-term benefits. So in other words, we are able to create content, we're able to give trainings that can be used by the city in the future in every aspect of the organization related to the enterprise resource planning system. Now, I don't know if all of you are aware of how many places in the city enterprise resource planning touches. But just to give you kind of a quick example, vendor management, both vendor registration online and vendors internally, purchase orders, purchase requests, budgeting, accounting, journal entries, fixed assets or capital items. I'm talking about finance right now. I'm not getting into grants management, accounts receivable, cash receipting, many areas. Then we get into HR and payroll, and you have the whole myriad from onboarding through personnel actions, all of the myriad of personnel actions that go on, employee portals, being able to get in and see information, see their paychecks, see their tax information, self-service, and in any kind of administration that goes on. Enterprise permitting and licensing, all the aspects for permitting and licensing. And then enterprise asset management touches all of the assets and in the city as well. And there's many, many more. I've gone into a thumbnail of the totality of that. There are some intangible returns as well. Our change management leads to improved employee morale. We find that when we do a good job of change management, that people are more engaged, and it can lead to increased productivity. One of the things that a well-managed project can do is streamline a process to the point where somebody can actually pick up more work. Because oftentimes what we see in cities is we're getting more work, but we're not getting more resources. We don't have budget for more resources. So what we can do is we can pick up more work, we can do better analytics, we can do better reporting, we can serve our stakeholders and constituents. Also, stakeholder satisfaction. Project outcome and smooth transitions during change initiatives improve Laramie's community satisfaction and trust in local city governance. And that is my deck, but I'm absolutely willing to open up about any area that you would like to discuss related to the project.
Great, thank you, Mr. Monroe. Councilor O'Doherty.
It sounds like it would make the audit go a lot cleaner and easier. I was wondering, is there a sample database that people can practice on? I'm the kind of person that learns by doing, but I'd be afraid of messing something up. Or is there something like a undo when you're learning? What's the interface like for that?
So Holly pointed that out. She'd be disappointed that I didn't bring that up. So one of the ways that we engaged early change management was by making sure that there's an environment where people can go and practice even before training, even before they got their hands on it. They could get their hands on it before they were trained. Now, whether they're trained, they can go back and work on it. There's nothing they can mess up in there. It's a training environment, and they can work on that, and they can watch the videos, and then they can practice in that safe environment. It's a good question.
Thank you, Councilor Doherty. Council members, other questions? Do you have an idea, Mr. Monroe, about time frame for sort of the, I don't assume it's going to be a moment in time that we are done with ERP implementation, but curious if you have a time frame for when things might wrap up, because, you know, you mentioned, and I certainly agree that we have an excellent staff, but obviously they're spread thin, and this spreads them thinner, so I was just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, at the beginning of the project, my last trip for BPR here was the month before COVID started, and that changed our timeline a little bit.
Sure.
You know, for somewhat. I'll have to ask the team for the exact dates, but finance and EP&L are going live in
Finance is February, EP&L is June.
February and June, and then we're starting HR payroll or HCM in July, I believe, July of
Great.
this next year.
Oh,
And
cool.
that'll go about a year or so.
Okay, great.
So, yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
you bet.
Councilors, any other questions? Yeah, Councilor Pierce, please.
Yeah, so so is payroll HCM the last implementation? Okay, so that's what I want to know. So like beyond, 4, 3, 2, 5 years? Okay, thanks.
It's a great question, Councilor Pierce. I appreciate that. Others? Okay. Oh, Councilor Doherty, please.
This is just a comment. It sounds like, I love how well thought out this was, because I was at the university when there was a big change in our accounting everything software, and, you know, we just had some tutorials and things, but to take into account how hard it is to change when you're used to doing something a certain way. So I really feel confident that your group is doing a good job with our excellent staff, and so it's very reassuring. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Others? Well, thank you, Ms. Monroe. Appreciate
You're welcome. Thank you.
making the time for this.
You bet.
Director Webb.
Hi, Mayor, Council. A couple staff members are going to want to talk on the project tonight. First thing I want to say, I want to go back to Councilor Doherty, a question about like a train environment. Super exciting. A lot of you know Shane, our street and fleet manager, and he came running in my office this afternoon. He's like, I created a PO. He was so excited. So yeah, staff's getting in and playing around and doing some training, and from what I've seen so far, really enjoying it. I think one of the things I wanted to just let you know, and I know you know, but this project is a heavy lift. Every staff member in this room and many others have spent countless hours so far and will be more working on this project. And Coe-Hales has been a great partner in that. Without them, I don't know how we would do our normal daily jobs because of the heavy lift. But with that said, we're also really excited about the end product and the efficiencies we're going to see. And I'll give you a quick example, and I'll go back to Shane. Today, Shane started the process of purchasing paint for next year. And so to do that, he gets what we call an App-A, and it's a form that he's got to fill out that says who the vendor is, who he got his quotes from, what account number he's using and all this, right? Fill out this form. Put all his quotes together, and he sends that over to my administrative coordinator, who then checks, makes sure everything's in order, brings it and puts it on my desk in paper form. I review it, I make sure everything looks good, I sign it, I give it back to my administrative coordinator, who then scans it, gets Shane back a copy, gets the city clerk a copy, she keeps a copy. It's a big mess and takes a long time. The new system, Shane is going to be able to go in a few minutes, create a PO. When he submits that PO, it's going to come to my hub. I can review it, approve it, and then everyone can see it. And it's done, and Shane can go order his paint. And so that's what I'm really excited about, is some of those, that's a small one, but some of those efficiencies that we're going to see through the software program. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Webb. And you can see that small thing rippling out across the entire staff. That's a considerable savings in time. Welcome, Jonathan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to echo some of what he had said, and the support that we've got from Coa Hills has really helped on this project. From the IT side of things, of looking at all this old data and needing to get it transformed and moved into this new product, they have experts who can come and tell me, this is the file we need. Oh, I can hand you that file. And it's really saved me and my staff a lot of time in setting that up. So we appreciate their help. And we're excited for the way the new functionality can work from a security standpoint of what they refer to as single sign-on. You have an account at the City of Laramie, your email address is connected. We can grant you permissions and you can get in just to the items that you need to see. If your role changes, we can change your role. If you leave the city, we go to one place and say, okay, this one's no longer employee. It takes care of the things from that. So I'm excited to be able to offer that to our end users, that they can get the things that they need, and it's easier for us to be able to manage that. And so we are excited as well in IT to see this project going forward and see the other things that are in the works. Some of them, I wish they'd hurry up and come, because there's a lot of great things on the horizon with this software project and the things planned. And so we are looking forward to those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Mr. Fieser.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, I think one of the things that's been missed is this product, in my mind, at least in the EP&L, has been fully customizable. And so if you think about that, every process that the city does in engineering, permitting, and licensing, we're building those processes through this. It's incredibly difficult, incredibly hard. Coa Hills is challenging us to make changes to our process, to make sure that they're the right processes that we're following, and that's enjoyable. I will tell you that the chances of me using the system are very minimal, but all of my staff is heavily involved in that, and it's a difficult thing that they're picking up. I appreciate you, Mayor, understanding that we're already on thin on staff, and this is another straw that we're putting on that proverbial camel's back, but they're handling it well. We had training today with Jen Wade and her staff on vouchers, vendors, AP, POs, and it was incredible. The test environment is going to be fun to use. It's going to be something even this dinosaur can figure out. So that's the important thing. But our relationship with Coa Hills has really led to stretching our processes, making sure that we're doing things right, and making sure that staff understands how to build this customizable software after they leave, and not just leave us to where we're relying on a company to do it. So,
thank you, Assistant City Manager. I sure appreciate that. Anyone else? Director Wade.
Hello again. I'll offer maybe a few comments and wrap up and try to bring it all together for the council this evening. And so I really appreciate the questions about how long the project will last. When we do look at that project time frame, I see 5 years in the future, but of course that's on multiple modules and multiple phases. Because of our small staff sizes, of course, you have many of the same people working on the various project phases, and so we are taking that into account when we determine our final project phasing for each phase we kick off. And so I want the council to know that we are being considerate of staff time in that way to the extent that we can. And we absolutely expected it to be that type of project, and so it's not like we have unmet expectations in that way. A few more comments on the COA partnership. I have been deeply grateful for the way that they have navigated our relationship with Tyler Technologies, who during the pandemic experienced some of the same brain drain we saw across the country. And so their relationship, their partnership with Tyler, is not a partnership, it's a relationship, has allowed us, when we've gotten stuck, to find resolution. We have been able to secure, I feel like, their best IC. We have gotten one of their better project managers, and I have to believe that that relationship with COA has helped that process. And also, in particular, in the training assets they are creating. And so many of COA's services are actually billed as incurred, not a flat fee. The exception is project management services, and that's what we would expect. And so we only pay for services if we use them, and the services we get in particular in training are fantastic. And so what staff do is we might record a video with our voices, even with some errors or some dogs barking in the background, and then our project manager, Polly, will actually create the types of professional videos that you see. And so staff are always involved, but that COA assistance has really allowed us to move away from what Mike calls that over-the-shoulder training model. And as you all know, we've experienced significant transition since the pandemic. And so I often think, boy, what if I had back all of those hours I spent working with someone directly to provide the same training over and over again. And so I'm really excited about the training assets in particular from an efficiency and a value standpoint for the city as we move forward. Just a project health update for finance. The project is on time. We have only changed our timeline once by 4 months early in the project schedule, and we did that to allow for the extended end user training that we are kicking off in November. And so our project manager, Holly, is reminding us right now that we could be going live. And we say, yes, Holly, we could, but there would be no training. And so I'm really glad we made that decision for the finance phase. We'll go live on February 5th. We are already talking about our blackout periods so that we get that final data migrated in, and we actually feel very confident moving into that go live date and feel like we'll have a set of users who are excited and ready versus terrified with lots of confusion. And so that's really good news. We also are in scope, and so we were very privileged to be invited up to Casper last week by the finance team, and the staff there were so generous, and they were willing to share their experience implementing the same product and maybe their learnings along the journey. And what we learned is that we actually are going to be implementing more at Go Live than maybe they have even implemented to date, just because of some of the differences in how our projects are moving forward. And so that was really encouraging to me. It felt like, okay, we are doing the right things, because this is one of those once in a career projects, maybe twice in a career. And so I was happy to learn that we are very much on progress. We haven't pared back too much, even though there are some things that we'll be refining in the year after we go live, which is very normal. I also want to clarify what the scope of the current finance phase is. And so finance is the first phase. That includes the following modules. And we're kind of co-leading the finance phase between two teams, a finance team and a purchasing team. Our purchasing team is rolling out purchasing for the city for the first time ever, which is a big deal. They are covering all of those processes, designing the bid module, the contract module, the PO module, as well as working together with finance eventually in the future on vendor self-service. Your finance team is managing the GL, vendors, AP and P cards, accounts receivable, cashiering, projects, grants, budget, capital assets, and cash management. And so those are the modules that are actually going live in February of 2025. And so I hope that's helpful to the council in understanding why a project like this might take just under 2 years to implement in the first phase, because that finance phase really provides the foundation from which those future phases can occur. And then finally, kind of in wrap up, I would say that, when you go live with any software, it's not that you go live with an expectation that everything is perfect. You go live with an expectation that you're maybe at 90%. And you're going to be refining that last 10% maybe in the month or two after you go live for your core processes. Your core processors are going to be pretty close, but you might in the next year be rolling out additional functionality. And that's very much the approach we're using at the city. And so there are some things like vendor self-service that we will bring online in the year after we go live for good reason, just because we've got to manage the pace of that change. And so what I would expect is that will be completely wrapped up in finance, although we will have kicked off, of course, we will have gone live on InterGov, we will have kicked off payroll HCM. We're going to be doing those final refinements in that year post go live. Reporting is going to be a big part of that, as well as rolling out Tyler's Socrata product, which is an open data platform, which I'm very excited about from a transparency standpoint. And so there'll be lots more to come after we go live, but the bulk of the work will be behind us if you think about it in terms of the scope I just described to you. So I hope that information was helpful to you in wrap up, and would be happy to answer any questions that you might have this evening.
Thank you, Director Wade. Council members, any questions? I think, I always hate to speak for council, but we've all been curious how this is going. We all know how much time it is taking from staff. So I think this was a well-timed and appreciated update. So City Manager, thank you for putting it on our calendar. Please.
Thanks. If I could just wrap up quickly. I certainly want to thank this group for bringing this update to you in a way that I think was just so good at illustrating the way that this ERP software is going to make our organization better, leaner, meaner, all of that. And so I'd just like to thank Jennifer and Sean and Brooks and Jonathan and Todd, who are really integral players in making this happen in our organization and working directly with Coa Hills. They have been, of course, fantastic. I also would like to mention I want to echo what Jen said about how I've been very impressed with the staff working with Coa Hills to find really value-added aspects of this project, such as the training videos, and that's such a pertinent example that Jen has left with you, so that we really have a legacy from the work that we're doing for future workers when maybe we all aren't here, right? And then just lastly, I wanted to thank you, Council, because I understand how expensive this project is in terms of the software project and also the implementation schedule over all these many years. It's a heavy lift in the budget for us to take this on. You supported that, and I appreciate your continued support for this just monumental change in our organization. I want to assure you that while the work we're doing now that Jen mentioned, the finance and the purchasing, is really more internal, it's sort of savings in staff, efficiency, time, effort, and energy, making us better, we will eventually get to the more front-facing, customer-facing, and citizen-facing aspects of this software, and I can't wait. I'm like Jen, I wish we could get there faster than 5 years, but we have to be reasonable. But I think that when we get to some of those pieces, that also is going to be very exciting for staff, and I think for our elected officials as well. So anyway, thank you for your support and for your willingness to fund the project. And going back to the first slide, it is not a joke that our software is from the previous century. It was a Y2K acquisition, and it's so out of date. It just, yeah.
That's unreal.
Thank you.
Yeah, please, Councilor Pierce.
Sorry for this late question, Janine, but of our departments, which ones have that more people, citizen-facing department? I don't even, if I had to guess, I don't even think I would know, but maybe planning? Maybe paying the water bill? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say if I name them off just quickly through you, Mayor, Councilor Pierce, you know what they are. They're often the ones that you see in here on Tuesday nights, more frequently than others. So if I would differentiate by telling you what our internal service departments are, they are more so finance, human resources, but as you said, planning is serving external customers all day, code administration is serving external customers all day, recreation, parks, and I don't want to unfairly unfairly characterize our internal service departments like HR and finance. They also work with outside customers every day, but in a different sort of way. They deal more often internally with our employees, our vendors, our prospective employees, our retirees, those kinds of things. Does that kind of answer your question?
It does, and I didn't mean to suggest anything other than that. I was just curious, when we will be hearing stuff from the public.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I think when we go into, and I'd ask Jen if her team want to add to it, but as we move into the human resources piece of this, I think that we'll start to be seeing some of those aspects with recruitment and
application submissions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a pretty exciting thing, but a lot of work, and these folks have done a tremendous amount of work. So, yes,
the public will actually see the first impact in June of 2024 with Intergov.
Right. That's a good point. Intergov, June of 24 is what she's saying, if you couldn't hear her, and that's where we'll be into some of our permitting pieces.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Pierce. Other questions, Council? Mr. Monroe, thank you for your help. Councilor Richardson, please.
Sorry, thank you. I just couldn't hear the last bit, June 24th, but I didn't catch what that was.
Councilor Richardson, that is when the public will have their first interaction with sort of the new software through permitting at that point. Great. Well, Mr. Monroe, as I was going to say, thank you for all your help. It is, like I said, the council recognizes where our staff is at, so your work and sort of the value add piece is invaluable. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Council, anything else before we close the work session other than public comment? Okay, we're going to go to the public on this. If there's anyone in the public who wishes to speak to this work session, just go ahead and raise your hand on Zoom or come forward in the room. You'll have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we're going to close the public comment period. And council, we're going to move then to our council comments and updates. And staff, if you want to go, please do. Thank you all for your work here. Thank you. Councilor O'Doherty, you can go ahead with your updates.
The Environmental Advisory Committee met last Thursday, and Corinne Sheshka, who is the intern who's been working on the emissions reduction plan, she gave a report, got more feedback from the EAC, and is going to incorporate some of their suggested changes, and then it's going to come to all of us.
Oh, great. That everything for you, Councilor? Okay. Councilor Shumway?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll start with the ranch, Monolith Ranch tour on water quality workshop. This, and by the way, I almost panicked when I saw the agenda and saw the ad hoc committee for the Monolith Ranch was being dissolved. I thought, you can't. You're doing too much great work. But I see we're making it permanent. We just got a ranch. Going to make it permanent. And they're, by the way, they're doing a great job. So anyway, it was a 5-hour tour. We went to 5 different things, everything from the pivot to the Goforth Dam. We saw the ranch. Let me look at my notes here. We saw the pumping system that they have. They've gone to solar instead of the old wind turbine, and they're pumping now and keeping the cattle out of the river, which has been a great addition to keeping the water clean. Also, we saw the Ranch Operations Center, which was very, very well managed. It looked really, really good. So anyway, that was a very informational, good tour that I had again as I saw the progress that's going on out there. Then the Public Safety Committee, we had a subcommittee meeting today. They have been working on a project that they put over 100 hours into so far in preparing to submit a proposal for speed limits within the city of Laramie. And anyway, we have our meeting Thursday to have a PowerPoint report on that. The Laramie Youth Committee met, and we had a presentation, which we always do, from our city clerk, Nancy Bartholomew, who did some training on communication and other things. We now have 8 committee members. They all attended. They're all very much engaged. They set their goals. They planned out their year, and they're anxiously moving forward. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Shumway. Councilor Pierce.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Councilor O'Doherty and I did the interviewing for our Ranch Advisory Board, and we had some absolutely amazing applicants, many applicants, and really struggled to make some of those decisions. Yeah. Councilor O'Doherty, she calls it, we have an embarrassment of riches. And that's absolutely the case. So you'll see that the new members and all that stuff coming forward next meeting, right? So, Joe, just to update you a little bit, because the Monolith Ranch Committee was actually ad hoc for 10 years, right?
About
Just
that.
an ad hoc.
Right. It's time to move on.
We changed things up, actually made the Ranch Advisory Board, Commission, okay. And we have bylaws and all sorts of really neat things, and we'll be having new membership starting as soon as we okay it next week.
Good.
Right.
That's great.
So, and like I said, we had amazing applicants. It was just, it was really a tough decision. The one thing, just kind of on an aside, I don't know if this is the right time, but and we don't think in any of the bylaws of any of our committees, it says that they have to be a U.S. citizen. But when we ask the interview question, we ask if they're a qualified elector. So our question was, do our people on our committees have to be able to vote? And I don't know if we have that anywhere. And Bob didn't know either. Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up. But, I think there might be a bit of a hiccup there.
I think council, and having read the statutes that enable some and create some of our boards and commissions, there's specific language that we mirror in statute for certain boards that do say qualified elector. I'm not, don't quote me, but I think Planning Commission is one of those. Other boards that are created from our local enabling ordinance often say resident and don't differentiate elector. So I know the source of those requirements, but I'm not aware, as the city attorney appears not to be, that there's any statutory requirement that they be voters, either of the state or of the county.
Well, and it makes sense with planning, because they move from a planning commission to the, when they actually make decisions, right? Help me out what that's called, they're the Board of Adjustment.
Yes,
right?
correct.
So when they move from Board of Adjustment, they're actually, so that would make sense that it would be on Planning Commission. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. Oh, sorry, just thought I'd add that. But other than that, the reason I was a little late was at the DDA meeting, and what an amazing group, by the way. I just got to occasionally sit in on those meetings. So Micah, yes, and we'll talk later, because she had a question, so the answer is yes. And That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilor Pierce.
I had to
Yeah.
communicate with her.
And thanks for picking up those committees as needed. Councilor Shumway, will you switch mics? The people were having a hard time hearing you
Are they?
on your mic for
Okay.
some reason earlier. And maybe mark that one, Aaron, or move it somewhere where it's.
I just real quick, there was a group of about 20 to 25 that did the tour, and it was very well. It was so professional. I enjoyed every minute of it. It was cold, but I enjoyed every minute of it.
And Mayor, could I just ask Councilor Joe, remind me who led that tour?
WCC, Western Water Consultants, WWC, they're the ones that did the presentations, but we had a presentation also from the ranch management team that gave us information. We had information also from Ducks Unlimited.
Cool.
And then we had, I think, someone there from the Game and Fish, yes, the Game and Fish. All of them had portions. We had, like I said, 5 different stations, 45 minutes apiece, and great information. I'm glad I went.
Yeah, and frankly, if I could just, without those partnerships, we'd be in trouble. The partnerships are vital for our operations out there. It's amazing, the willingness of our community and to help us out in that way.
Thank you, Councilor Pierce. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see, first on September 21st, Thursday, 2 meetings related to renters experience. I met in the morning with the city management team to discuss the implementation of the renter experience survey. And I thought we had a very healthy discussion. In that afternoon, met with the Vulnerable Adult Working Group, which includes Virginia Vanzetti, Representative Ken Chestik, Representative Carly Provenza were there, AARP, UW Legal Aid, Epson Center. And the intention is to address a number of the issues that are being voiced, not only by renters, but also by landlords, and to try to dig in and separate fact from fiction. Some of the concerns being voiced are dramatic increase in cost, condition of the living environment, the cost to access the apartments, to find out, to even gain access, and the impact on vulnerable populations such as elderly, disabled, and young families. So we're continuing that work and working with Aaron on this, and we'll continue to report to you. On Monday, October 2nd, Albany County Mental Health Board. There were in excess of about 20 people in attendance to the meeting, included LPD chief, the sheriff, UW chief, mental health, district attorney's office, the diversion office, UW, Commissioner Gosar. So it was a good group of people, and I have Heather Carter announced that we did receive the Department of Justice grant for the development of the diversion program, if you'll remember that. We were one of 5 people to receive that grant, and that grant is for $900,000 in addition to the monies that were promised by city and county. So that's really going to help us to get our project off the road. And last, planning meeting, Monday, October 9th. And the focus of that meeting was on the annexation and zoning of some small parcels of city property One was 2 parcels along Banner Road, just north of Curtis. It was, Planning Commission approved the annexation of all of these and also the zoning of all of these. The zoning on this one would be Zone 0, which is low impact, non-residential, and if it were to go into any development, it would have to go through the standard process for zoning. So currently, this would be a non-residential low impact. Number 2, North 45th Street, due east, around 45th and Mojave. That was approved for annexation, and the zoning, R1 City Agriculture. This is a little skinny, long piece of property, also known as Spaghetti Ranch. And there are no plans for development on that. The property is only 31.63 feet wide, so it would really not accommodate development. There was one concern from a family individual in the neighborhood about the impact to wildlife, loss of view, etc., but that person was informed that it would not include development and was happy with that outcome. Number 3 is city-owned parcel on Cottonwood Drive, where the city pump station is on the property. That was approved for annexation. That's about a half acre, .501, and that was zoned as rural residential. And that was it for planning, so we'll be seeing those soon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Councilor Newman?
So I wanted to do an update on the Youth Council as well. So they set their community service, kind of their ideas that they wanted to do. They set their community projects, all their goals. What I was surprised about was their goals mirrored our goals. So mental health, substance abuse, community resource. They wanted some local engagement for the youth in government. So a lot of their goals, and I showed up late because they changed the meeting times to 4. So I kind of showed up a little bit late, so I didn't have a lot of, I don't know how the discussion went, but it was surprising to see a lot of their goals were matching our goals. Another thing that surprised me just on Madison's aspect was being proactive. She's reaching out to the chief of police, wants to bring back like the DARE program or something like that. So a lot of the members on youth council, because she wasn't the only one, are being proactive in reaching out and trying to really make a change. And I was really surprised on that. If you haven't, there is a good article on Laramie Live on the youth council. So if you have a chance to go check that out, go do it. And then I had a comment just on the U.S. citizen question. It's actually discrimination to ask that question for how long. I think it was passed a few years ago because people with work visas and that aren't necessarily U.S. citizens. So that was like my HR coming out. To where because of work visas and stuff, it's actually a protected question now because theoretically we would be discriminating against people who could work here legally.
I think that's why they phrase it qualified elector.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too because I don't know much about that question, but it was just my HR coming out at me. Other than that, that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Newman. Councilor Gabriel.
Thanks, Mayor. The Parks, Tree, and Rec Advisory Board did a tour of several different sites rather than just meeting at the rec center like we usually do or on Zoom. And we found it very valuable. We went to the rec pool and saw that project, the rec lighting project. By the way, if you haven't been out to the rec center, the pool is all totally without water, and all of the construction is going on. That will be done. Is that done yet? Soon. I know it's coming soon.
It's close. I think Jody said October 16th for the pool.
Okay, yep, next Monday then. But that was so interesting to see the pool without any water and all of the construction that's going on. So following the rec center, the board went to see Rotary Club Park at Grandview Heights and saw that construction will begin next spring. We went to the Spring Creek Trail, Phase 1, which will take us 30th Street down to LaPrelle. We visited the Trestle Bridge in West Laramie and the Greenbelt Connection. We also saw the site of the potential West Laramie Park near Wyotech. And so it was very interesting to be on site to see all these projects that the rec board has been involved with and been talking to Todd about. But that was Todd's idea, assistant city manager, and then Jody and some other people got us all together, and we went on site and had a good visit and a lot of good questions, and so it was a valuable experience. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Gabriel. Councilor Richardson, do you have any updates?
Just a couple of quick ones. First, I want to thank Councilor Pierce, Councilor Newman, and Councilor Shumway for covering a few of the meetings that I haven't been able to attend. I really appreciate that. And second, at the Main Street meeting the other day, the airport folks came and spoke with us, and they are trying to really think about how they can bring more of those clients who are flying into Laramie but aren't necessarily coming into the city, ways to bring them into downtown and to other areas of the city. She feels like we are missing out on a lot of revenue from folks just flying in but going elsewhere, and is asking for ideas. So if you have any of those, please reach out, and she's welcoming any and all, and they're just starting on this kind of this idea of looking into more engagement.
Thank you, Councilor Richardson. Council, I have just two updates. The first is I'm making an effort to get that working group together for County, City, and Pilot Hill future planning. I saw Pat had responded, Councilor Shumway, you have a doodle poll, but I sent it from my other email address, so it will look like I'm spamming you. Okay, so if you'll hop on that, and then I will call Commissioner Jones. Apparently that is the best way to reach her. So, and then we will get that going probably in the next 2 weeks, and I'll just keep council apprised of that. The other update, I got a call today with exciting news that so you all recall the portion of the Bath Ranch the city purchased that was purchased by the Conservation Fund was sort of like the long-term goal of a wildlife refuge. Sort of the city manager shared like a 5 to 10-year plan. It was announced today that it is now a wildlife refuge. So it has happened like immediately. So that's pretty excellent news. It's called the Wyoming Toad Conservation Area. So that's great news all around, I think.
Can you tell us why it's called the Heart Ranch instead of the Bath Ranch?
No, but I bet the city manager can.
Council, we are going to talk about this next Tuesday, probably more than you'll ever want to know. But that is, we're working through the historical research, and it does appear the Bath family acquired it originally from a different owner, from the original owner perhaps, that was the Hearts or the Heart Ranch. So we're going to talk about that next week on your agenda. Mayor, could I give you just a quick update?
Would love it.
So I sent a couple of pictures to the city clerk. I just wanted to show and tell a little bit because I'm just really proud of our ranch progress this summer. So I thought I took a couple of pictures. I was out there a few weeks ago. So this is a picture of the entry road. And then if you go, I think, to the next picture, so you see where that truck is. You can tell there's been road work out there recently. Where that truck is, when I was out there in the spring, it's about 3 feet of water. So we just got the entrance road repaired, and I think it's going to be a much easier haul for our staff to get out there next spring. So that work just got done, very exciting. And we put up a little hay. This is just a part of it, and this is from like 2 weeks ago. I had Phil Zimmerman, our ranch supervisor, stand there just for scale, but that's just a portion of the hay that we put up on the Bath Hart Ranch this season. We're in the process, and there's one more slide, I think. We're in the process, and that's kind of a picture from further back of the round bell stacks behind the photographer. If you think of that, there's a whole other stack of square bells. So anyway, the entire Bath Hart Ranch was hayed this year, I think, for the first time maybe in decades, and it's been really fun to see the productivity of that property. So anyway, I just wanted to share those with you and let you know that haying is in progress. So.
99% of that hay stays on the ranch. They sell a little just for courtesy, but they're able to use the entire production.
All right, council, we're going to move on then to the agenda review. Try to cruise through this real quick. Have a couple proclamations next week. Public hearings just. Oh.
Sorry, Mayor. We were going to ask you about something that I emailed you about, but we hadn't heard. October 24th. Is the council able to, willing to, want to meet with the youth council for a meet and greet that day?
Sure.
Before our meeting at like 5 o'clock for like just a little shared meal. I'll potluck it and stuff.
Sure. That sounds great.
Yeah. We haven't. Yeah, we'll do it here. We hadn't invited any other elected officials yet. At this point, we were kind of waiting to hear if everybody was amenable to it first. So I thought I'd just touch base with you.
Yeah, thank you. I must have missed your email. So thanks for asking. Councilor Pierce, go ahead.
Yeah, isn't the 24th our update from President Seidel also?
It is. We kind of planned it that way because we were hoping that the whole evening would kind of be a good experience for the students.
And have we extended the invitation to the president and his team, or would that be a consideration?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
Okay.
And he did accept, and so has the ASUW representative.
Great.
So that'll be
good. Yeah. That'll be good.
Good idea, Councilor Pierce. Great.
So his covered dish will be catered, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, city manager was just mentioning maybe pizza. Are you all okay with that?
That feels on brand.
Yeah, we have potlucked before, but it's a lot. It's a lot on the clerk's office, I'll be honest.
Let's not do it then. Yeah, something simple is great. Sure. That sounds great. Thank you. So the 24th at 5 o'clock here. Okay. All right. Anything else? Updates wise? Okay. All right. Agenda review, council. Does anybody have any questions on anything on the consent agenda? You'll see those public hearings associated with the planning items we had last week. That ad hoc ranch advisory committee is the one Councilor Pierce spoke to earlier. That's just the action to get that sorted. But you'll see we have a civil service commission appointment, a few others. There, Malia Brown has agreed to stay on the airport board, so you'll see her on that item.
Thank God.
Yeah. So, all right, on to the regular agenda, council. Do you have any questions here? This is a different, just note, I read this very quickly in agenda review. The historic preservation thing is different than the one conversation we had last week. I was like, why is it 15,000 now? What's happening here? Yeah, I had the same, and then I was like, oh, read the whole thing, Brian. All right. Okay. No questions, council? Nothing of note? Great. All right, we are adjourned, council.
Thank you.